Hello, hola, everybody. Welcome back to Miami Total Football Radio, the show, aka Miami Total Football Radio, the show. You feel like we're jumping super quick into it. It's because there's breaking news. And if you heard the little chuckles there, well, and if you're watching live, you can see that Andrea Llanes is here with me live and in the flesh, aka Ajicita, no Jose Armando on this week's pod. But we've got the spice in the house, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of spicy things said here, Andrea, because there's breaking news. I'm not even going to ask you how you are. I'll ask you later in the show. Normally, that's how we start with the pleasantries. But Andrea, breaking news from not Inter Miami, but the Vancouver Whitecaps here on Thursday evening, just before we recorded this pod. And it is some pretty significant news. Tres de los cuatro fantásticos, 3 out of the 4 members of the Fantastic Four will not or have not traveled to Vancouver for this weekend's game against the Whitecaps. That's correct. Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, and Sergio Busquets all did not make the trip north of the border to Canada to play the Vancouver Whitecaps on Saturday at BC Place. Andrea, we had a very different show lined up. We're going to start with something completely different. But alas, thank you, Vancouver Whitecaps. You have made our show this week because we are now talking about this news on the fly. Andrea, what do you make of this news? And I guess if you want to say how you're doing, you can also sneak that in.
All good, Franco. I'm ready to talk about it because, wow, listen, this is what I lost count of the times that Inter Miami has done this in the past year since Messi arrived. So this is just another chapter of the same thing. And I'm betting a lot of fans in Vancouver, a lot of MLS owners are really mad tonight. And people are mad tonight. And listen, they have reason to be mad with Inter Miami. And Inter Miami has definitely won their title as most hated MLS team, because when they do things like this, it's not easy to defend them. And listen, the league is already trying to put out that they're resting them because they're in Copa America and they have another game on the middle of the week and all of that. But listen, that's just PR at this point. That's just my opinion. It's unsavable. No tiene, as we say in Spanish, no tiene razón de ser. Bueno, Franco, con el saludo ahí. Yeah, because this is just disgraceful again by Inter Miami, because, well, we're going to talk about it. So many, just on the top of my mind, I don't know if you remember, Tata Martino, we asked him about synthetic turf, artificial playing surface, the one in Vancouver specifically, and he said, there's no problem Messi playing in turf. He played in New England, blah, 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 blah. And now this. After we went to training on Tuesday and everyone was ready, everyone was excited to go to Vancouver, now this happens. And it's such a shame that it happened, because and that we know because of Vancouver, because not because of Inter Miami, as you were saying. I was telling Jose earlier today, it's weird that they didn't share, because they always share pictures on social media when they go and travel, they blah, But I told Jose, that's weird. If you remember, Jose asked you in the morning, because we heard some information. So Jose asked if you knew something, and we were talking, and I told him I don't think he traveled, because there were no photos. Every time they don't post photos of the team traveling, it's because Messi is not there. So
there's always something.
There's always something. So it's really unfortunate. I really get all the fans in Vancouver, especially, that are upset by this. The team tried to get ahead of it, at least, because we've seen in Atlanta, the team didn't do anything. We saw in Charlotte, the team didn't do anything last year. And all the places that Messi has not, Chicago didn't do anything last year when Messi didn't show up. But at least Vancouver got in front of things and tried to do something. But listen, this is a PR mess. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. And I'm not gonna sit here and tell people and tell Vancouver people, and especially Inter Miami fans, that this is because of rest, that it was scheduled already. No, that's not the truth. This is completely a decision that was made between yesterday or today, that they didn't want to travel or whatever.
So this is the official statement from the Vancouver Whitecaps. Vancouver Whitecaps FC have provided the following statement on Thursday in advance of the upcoming match against Inter Miami CF at BC Place on Saturday, May 25th. In addition, Inter Miami CF head coach Gerardo Tata Martino will hold a virtual media conference on Friday afternoon and will provide additional information at that point. Quote, while we haven't received an official update on the availability of Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, and Sergio Busquets for this weekend, we understand they will not make this trip. Unfortunately, we have no control over who plays for our opponent, and it was important for us to communicate to our fans as soon as possible, said Axel Schuster, Whitecaps FC CEO. Continued, quote, we always want our best players going up against our opponents as players, and facing players of the highest pedigree was especially exciting for our team. We know that there will also be a lot of disappointed fans. We remain committed to making this a special experience for everyone. It's still going to be an incredible atmosphere and celebration of soccer for our city. We have amazing fans. We have a good team, and Saturday's match is a very important home game for us. End quote. The written statement ends with a club record MLS era crowd is expected on Saturday and will include the biggest street party in the team's history. Vancouver Whitecaps FC will be providing all in-stadium food and beverage for this match at 50% off. In addition, youth 18 and under will be provided one free kids meal combo. Congratulations, Vancouver Whitecaps, man. On the fly, giving discounted food and free food for kids because Messi's not playing. I mean, wow. Listen, I'm not going to bag on the Vancouver Whitecaps because they've had to figure this out surely on the fly. And that
at least they did something. Yeah.
That can't be easy, and they do deserve props, like you mentioned, for getting ahead of this, for revealing the news as soon as they could possibly do so. Because I know, look, in USL, right? In USL, teams have to submit travel rosters 48 hours in advance. I don't know. I'd have to check if that's the rule in MLS. I'd have to check. But that's information in USL. You have to submit rosters 48 hours in advance. If that's the same in MLS, then we're around that 48-hour mark. And if that's the case, and Vancouver saw, these guys aren't coming, then yeah, we got to put something out there. We don't want to mislead all these people that a lot of them have already paid a lot of money to come here. I mean, they talk about the MLS era crowd that's going to be on hand. There's going to be a street party. I mean, it's going to be like a funeral now at this point, right? It's going to be like a hangover. Everyone's just going to be talking about Messi not playing. I mean, that was the real reason why. I mean, that's the reason that there was going to be as big of a crowd as there was. Before we go into it any further, I'm going to share footage from Tuesday's Football Fiesta open training session from Inter Miami, where Messi looks to be in some discomfort. He grimaces a little bit, favors that left leg, tries to move it a little bit. Well, we'll talk about it afterwards, but here's a clip from Messi on Tuesday's training session, which we got to see up close and personal. Technical difficulties. I don't know. Are you seeing it, Andrea? I'm not seeing it. It's not coming up for me.
Yeah.
It was coming up for you?
Yes.
Okay, it's not coming up for me. Let's try again. So I couldn't see much of that on my end. I don't know what's going on here on the back end, but we're having some technical difficulties. But at the end, I saw that it did play. So, I mean, if you see it, you can see, and you pay close attention to his face, you see he grimaces a few times, and he definitely tries, moves that left leg a little bit. Whether he's injured or not, don't know. But to me, that's clear signs of a player that's having some discomfort there. And I imagine that was taken into consideration, along with the fact that, like you said, turf field in Vancouver. Inter Miami plays next Wednesday, an in-conference game against Atlanta United. And there's lengthy travel to get to and from, South Florida to Vancouver, on the other side of North America. So all those things play a part here. Rest is just the, like you said, PR term that's being given for this. Because Messi, let's not forget, just recently came off of a one-game break, right? He didn't play against Orlando City in that midweek Sunshine Classico a couple of weeks ago. Just came back to the field against DC United this past weekend. So not like he needs a ton of rest here. I mean, they're managing his minutes. So yes, in the official layman's terms, you want to call it rest, fine. But the real reason is they have bigger fish to fry on Wednesday. They don't care about this game that much. Sorry, Vancouver fans. I know that's hard to hear, especially if you've dished out thousands of dollars for tickets for the weekend match. But that is unfortunately the reality here with what's going on. I'm of the belief he's not 100%. I think those images show it clearly. You can see it again in full on Miami Total Football's YouTube page here. We have it in one of the videos from this week. But Andrea, talking about the decision of Inter Miami, I mean, listen, no team has to reveal their cards and say.
No, that's an excuse. That is.
Hold on. Wait. Let me ask you the question.
Playing with people, going around.
Let me ask you the question. Right? No team has to tip their hand and say, "Hey, these players aren't coming," before they have to. Right? Like it's not an obligation. However, given where MLS is, given where Inter Miami is, given what Messi's stature in this league means. And actually, here's a comment from James. Excellent footage, Franco. Thank you, James. Surprisingly, I think I was the only one that caught that footage. I don't know how nobody else caught that footage of Messi grimacing. I think everyone was off to the side, and I was, you know what? I'm going in the middle. I'm going to get close, and I'm just going to focus in. I'm just going to have a Messi cam on El Argentino, and I was able to catch those images. So, anyway, back to the point. Thank you, James. Back to the point. No team has to reveal their hand before they're required to do so. But with everything that goes into Messi and MLS, does Inter Miami have a responsibility to communicate something like this especially for away games where there's going to be such a big turnout, so many people expecting Messi to play? As we've talked a lot about, there's no guarantee that a player is ever going to partake in a match, right? Like that happens in any sport. There's no guarantee. Pero, given where MLS is, given what Messi means, given how much money it all moves, is MLS or Inter Miami under the obligation or responsibility to communicate this sooner?
Yes, they should. Especially because these teams look ridiculous. Now it happened to Vancouver, but before it happened to Atlanta, before it happened to Charlotte, to Chicago, and to all the places that he hasn't played. And I guess these owners are not happy because they are helping Inter Miami pay Messi salaries. And Messi came to this league because all the owners were in agreement to have him here and to pay his salary, as this is a closed league. So I don't think they are very happy. Not everyone is very happy with this because it's not the first time. That's the problem here. It's not the first time. And seriously, MLS and Inter Miami, and especially MLS, looks like a joke with this because you don't have official words. When we as media ask, we get coy answers. Even if we ask up front, we get coy answers. We get, we cannot say. Those are things that are decided.
We'll see after training today. Veremos después del entrenamiento.
Exactamente. Those are the types of answers that we get. So they are not truthful. And at the end of the day, Messi, well, maybe some people are mad with Messi, but who looks worse here? MLS, not Messi, because they look bad. They look like a joke of a league, and especially because all these places are charging people 5 times, 6 times, almost 10 times as they charge in a normal game.
No, hold on. To be fair, I mean, I don't know what the prices are. The regular prices are for Vancouver. I imagine they were higher. But then when they go on the secondary market, that's where the prices tend to really skyrocket, and that's where you see even more exorbitant prices than normal. So that
Yes,
does have to be included.
yeah, but the teams up these prices. A ticket for a normal game in Vancouver, $20, and this game was how many? $600 for a ticket for a game. Man, you could go and watch. You could, with what people paid for this game, you could have gone and you could have go and watch on June 1st the Champions League final if you want. So that's really
Mez
unfortunate.
in the comment section says, "Why the fuck, bro?" And then he says, "This is bullshit." So I don't know if Mez is an Inter Miami fan that lives in Vancouver, or if he was a soccer fan in Vancouver that was expecting to go see Messi play this weekend. Clearly, Mez is not too happy, and he's a first time, or she's a first time commenter here at Miami Total Football Radio. As again, they could have played at BC Place.
And listen,
Clearly, I don't want to laugh
something,
because there's a lot of angry people in Vancouver now. There's
and
a
they
lot of
are
uproar, and they have
completely right.
every right
And
to be upset.
especially people have sent me messages because yesterday Messi was posting pictures on Instagram of him posing with Antonella and Suarez writing, "Oh, I took a good picture," and all of that. So they are away partying, and now Messi couldn't travel. Messi and Suarez couldn't travel to Vancouver. So people are really mad, and I understand. So for me, it's Inter Miami's fault completely because they should have better communication. The media was there on Tuesday, and we didn't hear anything about Messi not planning to travel, about
Why was
Luis
that?
Suarez
Why was that?
not planning
Why
to
was that?
travel.
Who did we speak to on Tuesday, Andrea?
We
Share with the
spoke to two
people who we
players,
spoke to. Who?
Robert Taylor and Marcelo Weigand.
Which they're not going to reveal anything about anyone's availability, right? So I think by and large, and I think MLS is learning this. I think Inter Miami is learning it as well, but they don't really care as much because they still have the sporting aspect to take into account in terms of competing. This is being managed horribly, right? Last year, you didn't know if Messi was going to be there or not unless you had someone at the airport seeing if he arrived or flew out of South Florida. Which in South Florida, I mean, I don't know any secret passages that can get us close enough to see where Inter Miami boards the plane if Messi's there or not.
Especially because it's a private airport, not
exactly.
Not
so
public.
in away games, in away cities, maybe not just at the airport. If you know the team hotel they're at, you can clearly see the players that are coming in when the team bus arrives. I mean, almost any other country in the world, you would know the day before or 2 days before. You wouldn't need a team to put out a release. You would know based off of news coverage that Messi is traveling or he's not traveling. That would be out there. That would have been reported days ago. But because of where the sport is in this country, and because Miami wants to play coy and wants to keep it close to the vest, which, hey, look, it's within their right to do so.
This comment by Alex Stevens is something that people are saying, and it makes people MLS fans especially matter, because Alex Stevens says Messi wants to stay home for May Revolution, big Argentine holiday, with his best friends Suarez and Busquets, and rest for something he actually cares about, Copa America. And that's for me, that hits the nail, because that's another thing that MLS fans and MLS people, MLS presidents, owners, CEOs, general managers, whatever you want to call them, are mad about. Because since the beginning of this year, we have known, and we have had discussions in this podcast, because Jose and I told you this since the beginning, that Messi's priority was Copa America. And unfortunately, Messi will not be missing Argentina's training on June 3rd, when they begin preparations for Copa America. He will be there no matter what, no matter if he's injured, no matter if he has rested or not, he will be there. And unfortunately, it's not the same for MLS, because MLS is secondary for Messi. And listen, he is in all his rights. He has a career that he has won the ability to do whatever he wants, especially in a league like this. But I think MLS didn't measure what kind of mess and what kind of PR this would bring to them, because they actually look like a joke league when things like this happen.
Skrilla in the comment section says the CEO and the owners can be mad all they want. Messi is a Miami player. Laughing
Yeah,
emoji.
but the
See,
league
Skrilla, while that is true, MLS is a closed league, and MLS is a single entity league, and that means, and I know you know this, Skrilla, because I've seen you in this comment section many, many times. That means that all Inter Miami players and all players across the league are also MLS players, because that is technically who cuts their check, right? Inter Miami pays for that check, but it goes through and runs through MLS. So yes, he's an Inter Miami player, but he's also an
his
MLS
contract is
player.
with MLS, not with Inter Miami.
Exactly. So therefore,
and there is
some responsibility. Look, last year when this was happening, right? And we didn't know if Messi was playing in some games or not. Remember the Chicago Fire game and Soldier Field, which had a bunch of tickets sold, the NFL-sized venue. There was a lot of hoopla, a lot of complaints, a lot of backlash, a lot of uproar about not knowing. So this year, we saw a change. Right? This year, we've seen MLS try to address the issue at hand by forcing teams to put out, I don't know how accurate we can call them, but to put out more substantial injury reports. And that we've seen.
Don't think like it's like the NFL or the NBA that you get an injury report every day after practice. No, you get an injury report in MLS
the day before the game or so.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's something. It's an advancement.
It's been a step forward, right? You said an advancement. It's been,
but it's not enough.
Una mejora de donde estábamos, right? Better than where we were, but it's still not good enough. Todavía falta aún, because this clearly, I mean, I feel for people in Vancouver.
Yeah. Now you that's all you can do, because people were excited to see
I'm
Messi.
I'm drinking some wine this week on this week's show in honor of the Vancouver faithful.
And it's some rosé. Franco is pink everything.
Last week I drank White Claws and some Ron de Medellin. This week I'm doing some Roscato, okay? So changing it up. I'm being classy this week. But nonetheless, yeah, unfortunate for Vancouver fans, because look, it's a non-conference opponent with MLS's unbalanced schedule. You don't play every team every season. It takes every 2 years at best if you're going to even get a chance to see Messi again. So this might have been, one of, if not the only chance for those people in Vancouver to see Messi up close and personal. And it's not going to happen. Andrea, with Messi, Suarez, and Busquets out, right? Because this has changed the whole show, the whole complexion of the show. It was going to start differently. We're going to talk differently. All right. What do we expect from Inter Miami now on Saturday night? Game's late on the East Coast, because, again, they're going to the Pacific time zone. So what do we expect from Inter Miami? Who are the three players that will step in for that trio? For Messi, who's replacing Lionel Messi in the starting lineup?
Well, I think Matias Rojas is going to take Messi's place on the starting 11, and we are going to see another player come in, possibly David Ruiz on the middle. We're going to see David Ruiz, Kremaski, and maybe we see Redondo, who is ready to play on that midfield to replace Busquets, and Matias Rojas get in Messi's place.
You think Fede Redondo starts?
He could.
He's just like, we saw him on Tuesday. We saw him at the football fiesta in the training session, taking full part. But I think it's probably too early to just throw him in for a start after lengthy travel. I think Rojas is going to take the Messi role. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking about who's stepping into the lineup, Robert Taylor, Leonardo Campana, and
David
Ruiz, maybe.
David Ruiz or Yannick Bright. You don't have Diego Gomez is injured.
Well, all right. You've got Julian Gressel and Benjamin Kremaski, so you've got to choose, who's the next man up in that midfield. So, yeah, I mean, you're probably going to have to go David Ruiz. Now, don't forget, there's also a change to be made in the back. Nicolas Freire, which we'll talk about. That's how we were going to start this show, is out with a season-ending ACL injury. Another blow for Inter Miami. Otro golpe duro para el equipo. So So you're going to expect, I guess, Sergei Kristoff to get the start there at center back. It's still a talented team for Inter Miami, but clearly there's a drop-off. I don't think they win this weekend. I think the winning streak comes to an end. I think the unbeaten streak.
Vancouver is bad. Already over.
I still think with everything that's just happened, I think there's going to be a lot of frustration and a lot of anger and a lot of turmoil and.
I could see that we see a completely alternative lineup, not even with Matias Rojas playing, but just an alternative lineup overall. Having to see Sailor, having to see players that don't usually start. Maybe this is a game for Lawson Sunderland also, who hasn't gotten minutes in the last couple of games. And maybe we can see that. I could see this game being that. Maybe I expect maybe just Campana to start, but I could see a game where, for example, the midfield could be made of David Ruiz and Kremaski and Yannick Bright, or David Ruiz, Lawson Sunderland, and Kremaski, a combination of those four young midfielders. We could see Ryan Sailor come in. We could see even Boatwright, if he made the trip, starting this match instead of Jordi Alba, or instead of one of those guys. So I could see this game as being one that makes a complete change in the lineup.
Ed says, not surprised by this. Miami's admin staff keeps playing these stupid games by not keeping people in the loop regarding Messi's status. It's going to bite them in the end.
Yes.
How is it? I would ask no. So my question would be for Ed and for you. How is it going to bite Inter Miami in the end? Right?
When Messi leaves.
Why?
If Messi loses in group stage in this Copa America and he decides to retire because he's tired and he's not successful with Argentina, and he says, you know what? I don't care about MLS. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm not at the national team's level. What if Messi retires or retires after this season? Who is going to go and watch Inter Miami? No one.
Okay, first of all, he's not going to retire this summer. Like that's just like out there. Two,
Franco, why wouldn't he retire? He has won everything.
Because he's getting paid a lot of money.
He doesn't care about MLS.
He likes to play. He clearly likes to continue to play.
He doesn't care about MLS. He doesn't care.
He likes to play, though, and he's still playing. And he's getting paid pretty good money to continue to do so.
He already has money.
Yeah, but you can have more money. You can always have more money into that. You can never have enough money. There's no such thing as enough money. That's not me. That's just generally speaking. That's not even my stance. It's like people just think you can never have enough money. You can never have enough money. So
I can see Messi getting tired of MLS and Inter Miami. If that happens sooner, for me, it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Inter Miami are going to pay the price because for me, they have not been intelligent in having Messi and being able to build with that. They haven't done for me. That's just a personal opinion. They have alienated fans. They have alienated everyone that cared about the team since day one has been alienated. Alienados. I don't know how to pronounce
Alienated.
Whatever.
Ikem here says it's crazy. People are mad at an almost 37-year-old man. They want him to travel all the way to Canada, play on turf, then play midweek again. Come on. Tony Axe adds to that. Why is nobody blaming the shit scheduling? There's no midweek game here. He plays in this match. I mean, I could definitely understand that argument. I could definitely see that being the case here. But Inter Miami does play. Game. But Inter Miami plays on next Wednesday.
He rested against Orlando.
I agree with that. I said that before. He did play.
That's no excuse.
That's why I'm saying this rest is not really rest, like per se. Yes, he's sitting it out, so he's resting, but it's not really rest. No está descansando por descansar. He's just missing this game. He's skipping this game. That is the better way to say it.
Exactly.
He is skipping this game. Because the travel, the quick turnaround, the turf field, and sorry, Vancouver fans, that's, from Inter Miami's, nonverbal communication. Sorry, Vancouver fans, you're shit out of luck. So again, feel for the people up in Vancouver, especially, young kids and everyone that was really looking forward to seeing Lionel Messi, but it is part of professional sports. This does have to be managed better. Hopefully this gets addressed some way, shape, or form. I don't know. What could be a solution, Andrea? Daily injury
Inter
reports.
Miami to be transparent.
We need more transparency.
Stop lying.
100%. We need more transparency. I'm not just saying like we as media, like we as a general public need more transparency when it comes to MLS. MLS talks all the time about, we want to be more transparent and but they take minor steps. Like this year we saw finally roster designations because we get the salary released every year, but we don't get designations or we don't really know who's where and what's what. We got to see that a few weeks ago. But it's still it takes too long for them to make these moves. Like, come on, man. Come on. Hopefully this sends things into light speed and this gets addressed sooner rather than later because this can't keep happening. It's just going to leave a very bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths. Because a lot of these people that are coming to these games aren't necessarily going to be MLS fans. They're soccer fans, they're football fans, but they're not MLS fans. And all you're doing is making them double down on their idea that, MLS is garbage by not communicating this sooner. Juan Arango says, Andrea is right. Messi is ready to enjoy Dia de la Revolución de Mayo, Argentine holiday on Saturday. Stancy says, Andrea likes to have wild takes for attention. I see you, girl. Okay, well, Andrea, Inter Miami on the road, I don't think that they win this weekend. I think they lose. Vancouver might not be a very good team, but with all that's going to go into it, the Vancouver fan base, if they were already getting ready, like some people were getting ready to boo Messi and all that, although most people would have probably cheered for him. Now I definitely think Inter Miami is going to definitely be.
I wish if this would help, if this helps the league, the only positive aspect for me, if this helps the league, is I would like for fans to realize that you have to go to a stadium to support your team.
Andrea, do you want to read this? Or do you want me to read this?
Okay,
let's read it. From Raymond Ducat. This show is the only show that gives honest and balanced reviews of Inter Miami. All the rest are pure hype and blind.
Thank you. That's a nice compliment.
I'll take the compliment, but I'm not going to speak for other shows. I don't really tune into the other shows.
I don't watch either, but I really appreciate the comment because that's how
what we do.
Works. Yes.
Right. That's how we've approached it.
Exactly. So that's what you have to say. You have to say your opinion. You have to be true to yourself. It's your opinion. We are giving here our opinion, our analysis of things that happen, and we appreciate that you guys see that. But as I was saying, if MLS fans learn something about this, is care about your team, build your team, be a fan base. Listen, with Messi coming to the US, I have realized that I almost don't respect a lot of fan bases here because I've seen stadiums chanting more for Messi than for the local team. I can tell that I respect Columbus, that I respect Cincinnati, that I respect Nashville, because those places have really shown me that they care about their team and that they are building a community. Like many times here in this podcast, we have had the discussion about teams building communities. Those are teams in the United States that have real fan bases and that are building on that don't care if Messi goes or not. They will fill their stadium either way.
Andrea's just steamrolling over the majority of MLS fan bases here, just like lawn mowing over them, just completely crushing. So now when our viewership takes a hit, Andrea, it will be
no, because we are an Inter Miami podcast, but I'm talking about other fan bases who should not care about what I say,
listen,
right?
Andrea, listen. No. Because I think I would disagree with you there in that spicy take. And the reason for that is because football is still a growing sport in this country.
Yeah, Franco, but it won't grow doing things like this.
Messi is in another stratosphere, man. Messi's like you could live in Colorado and you could be a casual Colorado Rapids fan. And if Messi's coming to town, you're going to be more likely to go to that game because you're going to get excited for it, right? Like.
Yeah, I understand that.
It's not like this. Football has been established here culturally. But that's what I'm saying. Football has not been established here culturally to the point where, you're going to listen. Messi has had even Real Madrid fans clap for him. So, I mean, it's Messi. It's Messi. So, and it's the United States. So, does Inter Miami win, lose, or draw? I already said that they lose. They lose 2-1, 2-0.
Even with an alternative team, I think they win. Vancouver is not a good team. They just lost in the Canadian Championship, so
Yeah, but now they
they're
have
bad.
extra motivation for their. You can't. I can't imagine their locker
They're
room
bad.
pregame. Locker room pregame. Coaches in there. They disrespected our people. They disrespected our fan base. Go out there. I can see that. I can see that ramping up or that amping
Only
up.
Portland is worse than Vancouver in Western Conference, so I don't expect Vancouver to win. And yes, that was a dig to Phil. If you got it, you got it. But I am clarifying it was a dig to Phil.
Reading between the lines. Reading between the lines. Reading between the lines.
If you were doubtful, yes, it was a drag to Phil. But yeah, I don't think Vancouver has a possibility to win this game, even if Miami plays with an alternative
So
team.
I don't. I mean, Andrea. Well, it's funny. You're technically factually incorrect here, my friend. Vancouver Whitecaps are in 7th place in the in the Western Conference. They have a 5-win, 4-draw, 4-loss record, 19 goals scored, 19 goals. No, sorry. Yeah, 19 goals scored, 15 goals against, so a +4 goal differential. Right now, they'd be in a playoff picture if the season ended
If the players,
today.
okay.
The Portland Timbers are in 11th place. So there you go. So technically, factually speaking, incorrect, Akisita. But we like the spice all the same. Yeah, thank you for that. But nonetheless, listen, Vancouver is in middle of the middle of the pack team, very average. But again, I think with everything that's happening,
it could be. Yeah, I could see that happening. They would want to show like Chicago did. Listen, this happened with Chicago. Chicago is a good bad team, and they won against Inter Miami because they were mad. People in the stadium were supporting them, even the Messi fans. So once they got mad, you remember what happened in Chicago? I think we're gonna see that again this weekend with people with posters saying, "Where's my money, Messi? Where are you?" and all that.
I mean, think about it. We're almost spent almost 40 minutes on this topic in this game, and that wasn't the plan coming into the show. But hey, it is the biggest talking point. So everything else, unfortunately, will fall to the wayside, or if we can get to it, we can get to it. Mike V says here, and I have to tease Mike V because Mike V says Miami wins 3-2. Campapi, Bray, Suarez 1, own goal, Allen. Suarez is not traveling, my friend, so Suarez can't score. Question for you, Andrea, before we try to turn the page on this match. By the way, we've set the record for most live viewers, at least from Twitter, in a single show, live concurrently. 497, and we're still climbing. There you go. Thank you, Vancouver Whitecaps, for ese comunicado. Thank you for that press release, because otherwise, I don't think this number would be as high as this. And thank you guys, of course, for tuning in from Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. 498, number still climbing. So there we go. Andrea, could we see the back five? Could we see the back five?
I don't think we see that back five because they don't have enough central defenders. I would.
Noah Allen
could play as a center defender. Yes, he could play. Ian Frey is back, but no way in hell I would risk Ian Frey playing on a turf field like that just to play a back five against Vancouver, who is not a bad team. And who is a bad team? Sorry.
Dame tu equipo.
Okay.
And the formation.
I would keep the same formation. And
4-3-3.
I would keep Drake on goal. Then I would just, in the defense, the only change I would make is bring Christoph instead of Nicolas Freire, who unfortunately got injured, as you said, and then keep the same Marcelo Weigand and Jordi Alba. And then in the middle of the field, I would keep Kremaski and Gressel, and I would bring David Ruiz to substitute for Sergio Busquets. And then on attack, I would have, as we discussed earlier, Campana, Robert Taylor, and Matias Rojas to take Messi's place. So that would be my lineup. I could see other changes. I could see Christoph not being 100% ready to play on a turf field like that, and a turf field like horrible, like the one in Vancouver, because New England Revolution just changed their turf because of NFL, and it's a newer type of turf. It's ugly, but it's newer. Vancouver is one of those turf fields that are horrible, horrendous, and should never exist. But so I could see Christoph staying on the bench and bringing Sailor in just because of that, because of the turf field. But I don't think Tata is going to change lineup. It wouldn't really make sense for me because Vancouver is not a threat for Inter Miami, and he has enough players to keep working the same way.
Every time I hear you say some bold claim like that in terms of the level of an opponent, the opposite ends up happening. It happened with Orlando City. It happened with it happened with a bunch of teams. And
Orlando,
I
only
have
with
I have a,
Orlando, Orlando and Nashville. This year,
and
Orlando and
Nashville.
Nashville.
I,
Too
I have a
disappointing. Too
I
disappointing.
I have a sneaking suspicion Vancouver might turn the tide there on you once again. They'll just be added to the list of teams that I got wrong.
If Vancouver wins, I don't know. That will be.
We will get you drunk on next week's show. Let's go.
I will drink a wine next show if Vancouver wins. Because
there we go.
I don't think that's happening.
We're at 504, a new Miami Total Football radio record. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. All right. I agree with you. If it stays 4-3-3, you forgot Thomas Aviles at center back, but that's a given.
Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah.
Sergei Kristoff steps in for the injured Nicolas Freire. Oh, we're at 506 now, so we're continuing to climb and set a new record. In the midfield, David Ruiz, I think there's an outside shot that Fede Redondo starts. I think there's an outside shot, but given that he's just coming back into it, he can't be 100%, healthy and fit. You don't want to just risk him suffering another injury.
If it was natural grass, I would have been sure that he starts, but since it's artificial turf, I don't think
I could
see him, but it's a risk. Like with Ian Frey, it's a risk to play players that just are coming back from injuries in a field like that.
That's why I don't think that they do it. That's why I don't think that they do it. Because it's just one game. You don't want to risk him having a setback for one game. And yes, they need him because in that midfield there's going to be a Sergio Busquets-sized hole in terms of who can help build through the midfield. And that is not an easy spot to fill. So maybe Matias Rojas plays in the midfield to help out.
I could see that too because we saw Tata bring him into that position last game. I could see that too, but who would play in attack? Then Benjamin Cremaschi would take his play in attack? His place in attack or Federico Redondo?
If Fede Redondo is not in, right? And they drop Matias Rojas. We're at 5'10", by the way. 5'11". If Matias Rojas drops into that midfield at 5'12", 5'15", I'm going to stop doing this. If they 5'14", if Matias Rojas drops into the midfield and you still have Cremaschi and Gressel, I mean, who's still going to play that 6? Who's going to play that 6? Maybe Yannick Bright is the guy. Maybe he is the guy.
Yeah, I told you.
He's not the cleanest, but
this game is a game. If you're going to try something like that, as going with young players, trying players in positions that usually don't get to play, is this game. For me, it's this game because in front of the home crowd against Atlanta, which who are also struggling, you're going to win. So St. Louis also, those are winnable games.
I didn't know you have a crystal ball to predict all these wins that are just going to happen off it. 5-19.
From now on until the end of the season, I'm just going to predict Inter Miami to lose when they play Cincinnati and Columbus. Then I'm always going to say they win because you made me see the light because at first I thought they wouldn't, but now I've seen that there's really no competition in MLS for Messi.
520. All right. So that midfield, I'm going to say this. Yannick Bright.
I could see even Julian Gressel staying on the bench. And like I told you before, having a midfield with just
Julian
young
Gressel
guys.
Starts. Yannick Bright, Benjamin Cremaschi, Matias Rojas. That will be the midfield 3. And then up top, you'll have Gressel and Taylor flanking Campana. That's the
I really don't think Tata would do that because if you would have to do that, then you should have Cremaschi, who goes better at top than Gressel, playing in that position.
But see, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Inter Miami takes their foot off the pedal a little bit. I think they'll be okay with the draw in this game, given the absences, the injury to Freire. I think that they'll be more okay with taking a draw on the road, especially since it's not a conference game. So I don't think they're going to necessarily come out and try to be as gung-ho. So I could see that. And maybe Gressel stays in that midfield and Matias Rojas plays in the wing, but I think that's the 11 that comprise the starting group on starting lineup, the starting 11 on Saturday night. A late kickoff, as a reminder for all of you that will be tuning in. If it's a 5 at the back, which I mean, it could happen. You could have Chelo, Weigand, and Jordi Alba, Drake Callender in goal, of course. Then you could have Aviles, Kristoff, and Noah Allen. Midfield three, Bright, Gressel, Kremaski, and then you have up top Rojas and Suarez. I mean, Campana. I could see that. I could see that. Just to throw in another alternative. If they go five at the back, I could see that. I could see that being a possibility. I could see that being a possibility. All right, Andrea, we've talked for 46 minutes about Messi and his absence from this game.
We could talk another hour.
we could keep going. But let's try to change gears a little bit here to talk about something else. Right now, we talked about Nicolas Freire.
Yeah, I want to talk about that.
Being out for this game. Right, this is how we were going to start the show. 5:22. We were going to talk about Nicolas Freire. That's how we were going to start the show because that was the biggest news of the week in terms of team news before what came out today. Freire will miss the rest of the season with an ACL injury suffered in the victory over DC United. Big loss for Inter Miami, a starting center back who's on loan. We will talk about the implications, not only in the short term, but the longer term in just a moment. First, let's listen to Robert Taylor after the Football Fiesta Open training session on Tuesday, talk about the absence and the loss of Nicolas Freire. By the way, 5:23. We're at 5:23.
No, I would say that's really bad luck what happened to Nico. I haven't seen the video, but I heard it's through contact, and I feel really sorry for him. He was a huge part of our defense, and now there's other defenders that need to step up, and I feel like we have a big enough squad for that to happen, and we'll miss him for sure, of course.
All right. So, Andrea, in the short term, Inter Miami loses a starter. In the long term, they lose the starting center back for the entire season. There's already rumors about Nacho and all these other things that you can imagine that are going to pop up over the next few weeks.
Nacho coming to Inter Miami? No.
Well, anyway, forget the rumors, forget that all aside. For Inter Miami, how big of a blow is losing Nicolas Freire for the entire season?
It's a big blow. Listen, Nicolas Freire came out injured. He got better and he began to command the Inter Miami's defense, taking that place that many of us thought that Sergi Christoph should take or should have been the leader of the defense. Nicolas Freire took that spot and took the mantle to guide Toto Aviles. They became the starting center backs of this team. They have gotten a lot better. Tomás Aviles playing with Nicolas Freire. I think it's a big loss for the team. And in that open training, I asked the communication staff, because usually when a player who is on loan gets injured, he goes back to his parent club, as it's a custom in the footballing world, because the loaners do not own the player, so he goes back. But team communication staff confirmed that Nicolas Freire is getting his surgery here in Baptist Health and is staying to make his rehab here in Miami and not going back to Pumas. And that makes sense because Liga MX just ended and Pumas got eliminated in semifinals, in quarterfinals, I don't remember. So they're done for the season until when it's time to begin in August, right? So it makes sense, at least in this month, to Nicolas Freire to stay here. It's good for him because mentally it's tough to get that type of injury, especially because he was injured in Greece, didn't play, and that's why he came into Inter Miami, right? And especially because of the moment that he was living. After that Monterrey game, I think the run that Nicolas Freire and Tomás Aviles had as the two starting center backs was really good, and they were getting better. Especially, I think Nicolas Freire helped Toto Aviles a lot in his acoplamiento to MLS. So it's a big loss for Inter Miami and for the team. And they definitely have to look for a replacement because they are short in that department. I know Ian Frey is coming back, but they need to look for a central defenders. They need to trade. And unfortunately for me, in my opinion, the player we just heard, Robert Taylor, is one of those candidates to get traded and maybe get a center back from other teams in the league.
So, short term, obviously, Inter Miami loses the starting center back, as you said, just as the back line was starting to really click and gel because they had just brought in Chelo Weigand not too long ago. He's adjusting to life in MLS. So they were just starting to click. You were just starting to see more chemistry, more unity, more understanding. Jordi Alba had also been out with an injury. He was just starting to come back into the fold. That back four was finally starting to become a more cohesive unit. And now you've lost a big piece. Sergei Kristoff, based on our perceived depth chart, is the next man up. But I don't think he has the speed nor the quality to play the way that Inter Miami wants to play consistently. I don't think he can be an every game starter for Inter Miami. So if we're looking at this more in the medium term, I agree with you. I think Inter Miami goes into the market, whether it's in MLS or whether it's abroad, to try to find a replacement for Freire to be a starting caliber center back on this team. Because I don't think Sergei Kristoff, not my opinion of Sergei Kristoff is a negative one. I just don't think that Inter Miami rates him enough to make him a regular starter.
For me, it's not only that, because Sergei Kristoff can be one of those players that is going to leave for a month because he can get called up for the Euro, who's starting like a week before the Copa America, and that Ukraine qualified for that, and he has been getting called up. He didn't play the repesca. How do you say repesca in English? I forgot.
Playoff.
The playoff, but he can get the call up because especially they expanded the roster and now you get 26 players to call. So I think he can make that. So that would be another reason for why Inter Miami needs a center back. And I don't know if they are going to risk it bringing someone else new to the league. For me, the most intelligent thing would be to bring a defender who knows the league already.
Tank 721 says John Brooks needs to come as a DP and buy Campana's contract down with a bonus. Interesting proposition, but we know Inter Miami is going to use the money in the attack. I guess just the way they go if they're going to use it at all. We're at 531 concurrent viewers. Thank you guys again.
Let's stop talking about Kristoff and keep talking about Messi.
Keep sharing the link. Actually, the numbers are going up as we talk about Kristoff. Maybe the Ukraine viewers are tuning in. 532. I don't think Kristoff will be seen as the long-term solution. Not that I don't rate him. I think he's had some very good games for Inter Miami, especially last year, including in the Leagues Cup final. But when we're talking about what Inter Miami thinks, clearly, he was not a starter on this team this season. There's a reason for that. I don't think that they will look at him as a long-term, or at least a solution for this season. I think that they will try to find a replacement. Whether they do or don't, or they'll try to find an upgrade. Whether they do or don't, that'll come down to Chris Henderson trying to work his magic and see what happens there. But yes, Inter Miami, a big blow for them when Nicolas Freire.
People are gonna start saying Ronald Araujo is going to come and play with Inter Miami since everyone wants to play for Inter Miami.
Yeah. Andrea, all right, very quick. We're at 5:33. I'm gonna stop doing that because it's probably getting annoying, but it's crazy to see the numbers continue to climb. All right, Andrea, very quickly.
Let me say something to end up with Nicolas Freire's injury. I think we really should keep talking about Inter Miami's problems with injuries. For me, and I asked this to Tata, I asked this to all players who have been having media availabilities. For me, Inter Miami has too short of training. They train too little because of the heat. That's the excuse to train.
Also an older team.
To train not as much, but for me, that is a big problem that Inter Miami is having, and that could be one of the reasons that they have so many injuries, because they don't train a lot. They don't train a lot, and I think that staff should start looking at that and maybe change something, because the amount of injuries that this team is having is not normal.
Yeah, I mean this one was contact injury, but yes, there have been a lot of injuries this year, and that definitely makes it something to wonder why have they just been that unlucky, or is there something else more at play here? So
even Tata is the thing is, I bring this up because Tata admitted it. Tata said that they were making training shorter because of the heat, because of the age of the players, and to take
No, the
care
age
of
of the
them.
players definitely
But
plays a part here.
For me,
Absolutely.
listen, big part of a team getting to play a whole year is training, and for me, Inter Miami trained too little in time. I mean, because for example, last week that they played Orlando and they played during the weekend DC United, how many complete trainings did they have? One maybe, because they rested on Monday. We saw on Tuesday, and it was a recuperación, like Tata said. Then they traveled to Orlando. On Thursday, they were off. Then on Friday, otro de recuperación. They didn't have a whole training in that week. So that's something that can be a toll on this team, especially going on the stretch and during the whole year. It could be a big problem for Inter Miami.
Well, there's always been the belief, before we move on, 5:55, there's always been the belief that this team, of course, is very talented, right? Like it's, when everyone's healthy and available with Messi and everything, this team is the most talented team in Major League Soccer. But it was over the course of a season, right, where you have to be consistent week in, week out, international call-ups, injuries, fixture congestion, etc., where we were going to see what this team was really made of. Now we're starting to get into, the thick of the season, getting closer and closer to the halfway point. And now we're starting to see this team, the wheels are coming off a little bit in terms of availability and health. And Copa America is coming, like you mentioned. This is where we're going to see how deep this team really is and whether there's enough quality to make this team maintain its level when the biggest players aren't around. And that's what we're going to see. We're going to see how deep this team really is or isn't. Now, obviously, when you lose a whole bunch of players, in MLS, it's very, very difficult to manage and very difficult to overcome. But it's a challenge that Inter Miami is very likely going to have to face, especially when you throw in all these injuries. But anyway, all right, Andrea, very quickly, we're going to switch gears. There's still a couple things to talk about. Inter Miami beat DC United this past weekend, 1-0. A goal in the 94th minute in stoppage time from Leonardo Campana made the difference in what was a very defensive tussle. Un partido defensivo, despite the fact that 3 of the league's top goal scorers in Luis Suarez, Lionel Messi, and Christian Benteke were all in the field. We're not going to analyze the game overly because DC United did a very good job of defending with their block of 9, 5 in the back, 4 midfielders, and then Benteke was kind of roaming free up top. So we're not going to overly analyze the game besides the fact that DC United played very well defensively. Campana comes off the bench and scores a winner with his first touch, which made for very, very frustrated reporters. Not because we didn't care, we didn't want Inter Miami to win, but just because we had our game stories written, ready to file. I was actually on duty covering for our friend Michelle Kaufman at the Miami Herald. I had my whole game story written. The angle was prepared, a 0-0 draw, second straight goalless performance, and then Campana, for Inter Miami's good fortune, scores a great goal. And, well, that made us have to scramble, as we do sometimes when things in professional sports happen. We've got to make a whole bunch of changes and change the whole context of the story. So, jokes aside, Inter Miami found a way to do it. They found a way to win. Tata Martino said after the game, I was going to share the clip, but I'm not going to anymore because, again, the whole, the whole show changed with the news before we began. But we will talk about Campana and his goal. Obviously, listen, and this is the question. Well, I'll ask you the question after we watch the clip. But Campana came into this game due to a concussion substitution that DC United had to use. They had an extra window because they used all 3 of their substitution windows, as did Inter Miami. So there were no more subs. Like Inter Miami's backups, their bench players, had stopped warming up because Inter Miami had used 3 windows and they only used 3 players. Campana was not going to come into this game. But because there was a concussion scare or a concussion hit, there was an extra substitution window granted to DC United late that allowed Inter Miami to also make a substitution that brought on Leo Campana, and Campana wins it for Inter Miami. I'll ask you the question in a moment. This is what Campana had to say about his goal after the match.
Sí, como lo dije, no soy hacer ese tipo de cosas, pero obviamente se te pasan muchas cosas por la cabeza, horas de trabajo, malas noches, frustración y bueno, agradecido siempre con Dios y con mi familia y con mi novia que me apoyan para seguir en la lucha y seguir haciendo lo que me gusta.
All right, so Campana was talking there at the beginning about him taking off his shirt, because I asked him about him taking off the shirt, being very euphoric. He said it's not something he normally does, but a lot of things came to his mind. Frustrating, disappointing nights. A lot of hours of hard work. Clearly, again, reading between the lines, saying, I need to cut my nails. Reading between the lines that he's not playing as much as he would like, right? And that obviously as a competitor can be frustrating. So understand it, but it's good for his confidence. It's good for him overall, and he should get a start this weekend against Vancouver. So he'll have another opportunity to build on that, and he'll go into this match with confidence. So another opportunity for him to make a statement.
I don't know how much confidence he can have really, because Tata was not going to use him because of that Rodriguez head injury. That's why Campana got in. If not, Tata was already ready to leave him on the bench another game. So I don't think he's 100% confident, and he shouldn't be.
But he's got to be confident, man. He's got to be confident. He's got to be confident after scoring a game-winning goal. I mean, he didn't want to take his shirt off and be euphoric, and if he wasn't,
that was euphoria. But that the goal calms him down, because he surely it helps to bring him out of the bad place that he's in. But I don't know how much confidence, because once he gets out, he analyzes. He played 1 minute. Yes, he scored, but he only got in because they got an extra substitution. He wasn't in the plans in reality.
He was
for a game that you were tying.
Well,
he was not in the plan.
Tata talked about that, and he explained it again. We had the video. We're going to share it, but we're running late here, so we're not going to. But Tata talked about the reason for that, and he said because if he had put in Leo Campana alongside Luis Suarez, Lionel Messi, and Robert Taylor, they would have lost too much of the midfield, and at that point, DC United was starting to counterattack very, very well late on. So he didn't want to do that. That's why he didn't take it into consideration. But Tata recognizes that, look, if it wasn't for the concussion that happened and that extra window being permitted, that Campana wouldn't have been on the field, and that they don't pull off the 3 points thanks to his great golazo, a right-footed volley, his weaker foot, his less preferred foot, great ball in behind from Sergio Busquets, who deserves his flowers for that pass as well.
Campana, it's really a shame because Campana is one of the few assets that this team has.
Wait.
One of the few assets that this
Wait. Stick to the game, Andrea. Stick to the game. Was it luck, or is it a case of good teams finding ways to win? Because even Tata kind of said it, like alludes to it in his post-game press conference, where he says, cuando tienes un equipo que está derecho,
no, I don't think it's luck, and I think it's just.
I definitely think it's a little luck, man. I think it's a little bit of luck.
No, please, I've seen Busquets give that pass.
No. I'm not talking about the times. I'm talking about the situation, the circumstance, the context. Like that doesn't he's not supposed to come into the game. The substitutions were done. The windows were over. They had been used, and yet they get an extra window, and he scores. I mean, that's a sign. Look, for me, good teams find ways to win 100%, but they were – and look, you need some – there's bad luck. There's good luck. You get both sides of the coin at times, but good teams have good luck more often than not. And
they were lucky because
what was
called an offside from Dahomey was never an offside, and that was a great save by Callender. They were lucky there. And then seconds after that came the game-winning goal. So they were lucky in that aspect, but sorry, I was reading the comment. I'm a little bit blind, so I had to get closer. But they were a little bit lucky. But I don't think the Campana's goal was luck. That's something they practice, because I've seen Busquets give.
But I'm not talking. And that's
but you're meaning in the sense. You're not meaning in the sense of Campana. Yeah. Now I understand. Yeah, I could see it that way. Yeah, that they were lucky. Luis Lopez says, not sure why you want to keep Pot under center time. It's okay to go over by a bit. The world won't net. I promise, Franco. Bueno, gracias por decirlo, Luis, porque Franco.
I just
cuadrado.
It's also late. Like we start late, so I don't want to keep you guys up late. And then listen, when the show ends and Host is here, Host is like, oh man, I'm hungry. Host is a diva. He needs dinner. He needs to go rest. He needs to go play Call of Duty. Like I get complaints here, guys. I get complaints from the dynamic duo that is Andrea Llanes and Jose Armando. So that's part of the reason. But it's also late for you guys, and I'm sure you guys also want to, go to bed, go rest, go be with your significant others, just unwind. It's obviously been.
Talk about Messi, Franco. Let's keep talking about that. No, in seriousness, I think that win was a good win by them, because yes, they were lucky in those last minutes to get the 3 points, especially how the game had gone. Sorry, how the game had gone, and I think DC United being as limited as they are, because for me DC United is Benteke and not much more, right? But they played good. That's the way teams should play Inter Miami, when you don't have top quality to match what Inter Miami has. And it made it maybe sometimes a little bit boring, because no disparos al arco for a long time, but at least it wasn't a blow like against the New York Red Bulls, right? Which makes sometimes.
Hey, credit to DC United, man. They played a very smart game. They played a very disciplined, determined, organized game.
Yeah.
Dogged determination.
They complicated Inter Miami, because Messi, Inter Miami couldn't find a way. Exactly. They made a good job with Messi. Inter Miami couldn't find a way. I think kudos to DC United, to Troy. I don't even want to pronounce his last name, because Franco will laugh at me. So I'm gonna call him Troy, like I know him and he's my buddy. But they did a good job. He had a good game plan, and the players executed it in a good manner. I would say that I would have liked if he brought Dahome earlier, because that would have made things interesting a little bit earlier than what we saw him the last 10 minutes. So it's really nice.
The game was lightning delayed, which caused for some traffic jams before kickoff, before even warm-ups. There was torrential downpour. There was very few shots on goal. Messi had a very quiet game. He did a lot of great combination moments in the midfield, a lot of nice dribbles. But in the final third, not up to his usual standard. Again, kudos to DC United. They played a very smart game. But in the end, Inter Miami found a little bit of quality.
To see. Yeah, it was quality.
It was a tactical game, a very tactical game.
Yeah, a very tactical game, in which both teams were very disciplined, because also Miami had a lot of work with Benteke, because Benteke is
and they did a good job of defending counterattacks as well. You talk about the Drake Callender save before Campana's late winner. I mean, that was a great save, and it did help, but they didn't give up a whole lot, right? Like, they didn't give a whole lot to DC United. Yeah. But again, DC United also was not being overly aggressive in terms.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling you. I would have wished if we saw that Dahome change a little bit earlier to get things a little bit more interesting. But it was a good matchup either way, and Miami got their 3 points. Tata would have been very happy. He was very happy, and Leonardo Campana was very happy. And I think this goal really helps him, not just in confidence, as you were saying, but in his possibilities of going to the Copa America, because once you make a goal and everyone is watching the game because of Messi, people notice, and a lot of players from Inter Miami are getting call-ups because they play with Messi.
Well, this was Inter Miami starting lineup, because I'm a stickler for this, so I got to do it. Drake Callender in goal, Chelo Weigand, Thomas Aviles, Nicolas Freire, Jordi Alba on the back four. Midfield three, Benjamin Kremaski, Sergio Busquets, Julian Gressel up top. Lionel Messi, Matias Rojas, flanking Luis Suarez. You talked about Tata Martino being happy after the game. By the way, are you going to give him props for his magical substitution of Leo Campana? Are you going to give him his props for making the decision to win the game? No, it was luck. It was luck. You have to call it where you see it, and Inter Miami got lucky in this one. This is not taking anything away from Campana's right-footed shot, which is his weaker foot. That was a hell of a goal, but the context of how that came to be with the concussion, that was luck. But good teams find ways.
And listen, something about the concussion. I think Matias Rojas should have gotten his second yellow card because of that ball, because he just kicked the ball and it hit the player in the head. And that's a yellow card when you do that, right? So he should have been sent off. But
we're going over our time.
Inter Miami.
We're going overtime. We're going overtime here. So
let me say one thing about that game against United.
We're gonna be here.
Let me say one thing. For me, the most important thing about that game was who was in attendance, because Pedro Martinez, the legend, the Dominican legend, the Dominican player, the Dominican pitcher, was there to watch Lionel.
Why do we care?
Messi.
Why do we care about that, Andrea? We've been listening. People have been listening for an hour and 10 minutes.
Pedro Martinez, and he should have been the star of the show, but instead I saw Ricardo Montaner's sons in the first row.
You know who's the star guest? Eric Spoelstra was the star guest, man. Pedro Martinez, bro. No one has even heard Pedro Martinez's name in the last 10 years. Andrea, what are you doing?
Please, Franco, please.
People have been listening for an hour and 11 minutes, and you're over here talking about Pedro Martinez. We're going overtime to talk about Pedro Martinez.
Don't disrespect Pedro Martinez.
Por los cielos, Andrea, por los cielos.
Don't disrespect Pedro Martinez, please.
Thanks 7-1. No, 3 more hours. Let's go. Skrilla says continue the show. No, we're going to wrap up. It's very soon, but there's
Franco doesn't want to talk about Pedro Martinez and all the celebrities there.
Let's talk about Eric Spoelstra. I'd rather talk about Eric Spoelstra. Hell of a coach.
Pedro is better.
I told you we would have some spicy takes, and that is probably the spiciest one we've heard all day. Can't believe she just said Pedro Martinez is better than Eric Spoelstra in their respective fields. Mind-boggling. All right, 593. Maybe we can crack 600 before we wrap up here. But we have one more topic, so running out of time, but let's see. You talked about Tata Martino being happy, Leo Campano being happy, obviously Inter Miami fans being happy this past Saturday at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in the win against DC United, 1-0 victory for Inter Miami. Well, we know who's not happy besides Vancouver Whitecaps fans and the front office and all the people scrambling to try to make all the people trying to scramble to make Saturday in Vancouver as pleasant as possible. Because again, before that game, all the talk's going to be about Messi not being there. People are going to be dejected. It's going to be like, instead of being festive atmosphere, it's going to be kind of like Debbie Downer vibe. Well, you know who else is probably not happy? Fans of the Finnish national team. And that is because Robert Taylor, after you asked him in the press conference on Tuesday,
I brought that up. They were not very happy with me.
Well, Robert Taylor, you asked him about his national team immediate future, because there is an international window coming up. There are friendlies or there's games for Finland to play. And Robert Taylor had sat out. He denied a call-up, even though, again, we're not getting into it, but he didn't get called up because he chose not to go. Just wanted to stay with Inter Miami. You asked him if he's going to do the same thing in this upcoming window. This is what he had to say. It's very quick, but this is what he had to say.
We have games here with Inter Miami, so I'll be playing with Inter Miami.
Short and sweet, as Robert Taylor tends to do in his media availabilities. He's going to stick around with Inter Miami. Now, if you're an Inter Miami fan, you'd like to hear that. That's awesome. One of your 600. Yay! All right. You hit the number. If you're an Inter Miami fan, you want to have one of your more talented players, attacking players, available, especially if you're going to be missing other players. Now, that being said, if you're Finland, or if you're Finnish, and you're a fan of the Finnish national team, you're not going to like that too much, because national team should take priority over the club team, especially during officially recognized windows. Now, we know MLS plays through those windows, so that's, on MLS to put players and coaches in these situations. Nonetheless, this comment from Robert Taylor later on, when he was asked again about not going with Finland, this one might bother some people.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's a difficult situation for coaches on the national team and for the club teams in MLS to face the fact that there is no break between the games here. And for me, of course, I have to make a difficult decision sometimes, but I feel like my home is here and I need to focus on bringing the results here. And I can't say much more.
Listen,
his home is here.
Yes. Robert Taylor, for me, is up for a rude awakening, unfortunately for him, because maybe he doesn't realize that he can get traded without him even knowing. And in my opinion, he is getting traded when the summer window opens, and he's making a big mistake, even though Inter Miami fans will be happy to have him and not have him go with his national team. For him, I think it's a big mistake. You should never do this as a player, because teams don't think twice when they cut you, when they trade you, especially here in MLS, where they have that dumb rule that they can trade you without you even accepting a trade. And for me, it's written in the stars. This is the second time Robert Taylor has said to us that this is his home. And if I was si lo estuviera aconsejando to give him advice, I would tell him.
You were part of his entorno. If you were part of his inner circle, Andrea, what would you tell Robert Taylor?
I would tell him, amigo, date cuenta, that Spanish saying. I like amigo, date cuenta, like open your eyes, because for me, Robert Taylor is in for a rude awakening, thinking that this will be his home. I think since the beginning here in the podcast of this year, we have talked about like how Tata doesn't like to give him an opportunity, and if Facundo Farias was healthy, Robert Taylor wouldn't be getting as much as the minutes that he's getting right now of playing time. So he's an asset. Any team will be happy in MLS to have Robert Taylor, like they were to have Luis Morgan. I think it's the same circumstance. The only difference is that with Luis, it happened with Phil. That Phil made him play in a different position and all of that. But with Taylor, is with Tata. Tata doesn't rate him 100%, and he doesn't get the chances that he could be getting in another team in MLS. Unfortunately for him, it's not going to be Inter Miami, and Miami will not be his home for a lot of time, I think. And also his contract is ending. He's expiring this December. So
Skrilla says, I think Taylor's trying to get a contract here to stay in Miami. Maybe
he wants to stay here in Miami, and that's why he calls his home. Listen, for a player to not go to a national team, and especially they are playing Portugal, one of the favorites to win the whole tournament, the Eurocopa. They are one of the last games that Portugal has before the tournament starts, and he's saying no to play with one of the favorites, to stay here with Inter Miami and play against St. Louis and Atlanta. So that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot about Robert Taylor's commitment. I don't think Inter Miami's commitment is that strong for him. I think Robert Taylor is going to be traded in this summer window.
Really interesting. I don't know. They keep getting injuries. There's going to be a lot of absences. I don't know if they'll trade him. Jair Gonzalez says they need to protect him more. They kick him too much. I already said what I think about Robert Taylor's situation the last time he declined the call-up or didn't go with Finland. Again, I'm not going to overly harp on it. MLS puts teams and players in these situations because they play through the windows. Unfortunate, and shame on MLS for forcing these decisions. But for Robert Taylor, yes, I know you are not a regular starter on the Finnish national team. You play minutes here and there, very seldom minutes. But, brother, you only get so many chances to play with your national team over the course of your career. Environment in that group. And it only takes, one opportunity. If somebody gets injured, someone goes down, and you make an impact, and then you're a starter and you don't give up that spot. I think it's misguided for Robert Taylor to turn down Finland. I understand why he's doing it. Again, I've expressed that. But I think it's misguided for him. But at the end of the day, it's his career. He will live with his decisions, good and bad, sus errores y sus aciertos. I don't agree with this one, but it is his career. He can do what he wants to do. Of course, good for Inter Miami that he sticks around. But I think, in the long run, maybe when his career is over, he'll look back and say, maybe I should have handled that moment better. Maybe I should have gone with Finland's national team. Because, again, there's only so many times you're going to get called up to a national team. And then when you're doing stuff like this, probably hurt your chances of getting called back up again, especially if you make public comments like that where you're saying Inter Miami is your home. And technically speaking, yes, it's your home. You live here. But, when you talk about your national team, and there's a lot of patriotic...
Yeah, people don't forget that.
In any sport. Patriotic pride behind it.
Yeah. In any sport, when a player doesn't want to represent their national team, that's not easily forgotten, and it could cost Robert Taylor a lot. Hopefully it doesn't, but yeah, if I was part of his entourage, I would tell him, amiga, date cuenta, because yeah, he needs to realize it. And Franco, before we end this, I wanted to bring a topic.
Ya se me acabó el vinito. Ya se me acabó el vinito, Andrea. Come on, I'm out of
and
wine.
it's the news. My final thoughts. I want to get a final thought in there because I didn't want to end this podcast without giving this opinion, and it's about the announcement today after the play in US Open Cup was done yesterday. Today, Apple announces that the quarterfinal games, the semifinal games, and the final is going on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. And well, it doesn't surprise anyone that MLS wants to grab all and everything with football in this country, unfortunately. But interesting, we still have 3 USL teams alive, so it's gonna be interesting if we see finally this year a USL team win the trophy again. So, and you can watch it in MLS for free, but you still have to give them your email though. So I don't know how free
you've been hoping a USL team wins that cup for like years, and it hasn't happened. This is not going to be the year. This is not going to be the year.
Hopefully it is the year, please.
I don't have any more final thoughts. We will leave it there. We've gone 11, 12 minutes over what we've planned for normally, but that's fine. We had a lot to talk about because of the breaking news. We hit 605 concurrent viewers. That is a Miami Total Football Radio record, so thank you guys for tuning in. Obviously, the breaking news played a part in all of that, absolutely. But you guys are just as big of a part in all of that. If you're new, if you're old, young, old, fresh, old, give us a like, a comment, a share, subscribe. Hit that button if you're on YouTube. It's free. Got all the content that we provide you on a daily and weekly basis. Content you won't get anywhere else, like that Messi grimacing video where it looked like he might be dealing with some discomfort in that left leg. So again, subscribe. If you're listening to this after the fact on Apple Podcasts, or where is it? Actually, I hope people didn't leave yet. I'm gonna have to do this for multiple weeks. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a written review as well, because we're almost close to the number that we need to hit. When we hit that number, I am giving away these bad boys right here. A pair of the pink Inter Miami game day shorts from the Heartbeat? The one with the collar. Not this current jersey. This one right here. This one right here. Mm-hmm. The shorts that go with this jersey. Same color tone, not the newer ones, but the ones that go with the original pink jersey. I will give away a pair of those pink shorts once we get to the number we need to hit. If you want to know what number that is, it's 100. And we're very close to 100 on Apple Podcasts. So if you can, help us get there. And as soon as we get there, I'm giving this away to somebody. Some lucky viewer, some lucky listener. All right? So there they are, right here. Pink Inter Miami shorts. Where's the logo? People are just going to think these are shorts. Here we go. It's folded incorrectly. So it's hard to see, but there's the logo. You can see it a little bit there. It's just folded. So we'll give those away once we get to 100. And I will remind everybody on a weekly basis until we hit that number. Okay? So we will leave it there for now. We will be back next week with the midweek game. I'm going to hope that we can come back early in the week, but it might be tough. We'll definitely have one show. I'll try to shoot for 2, but we'll definitely have at least 1. All right? I'll keep you guys abreast as to when that will be. And I'll have to come up with my next drink of choice because I'm switching it from pod to pod. All right. So for Andrea Yanis, which, by the way, Andrea said if Vancouver wins, she's drinking on the next pod. And we're at 6:07, so number continues to climb. But, 6:08. See, maybe we should stay on longer.
Yeah, I told you, but you don't.
What else are we going to talk about? We're not talking about
Maduro que Robert Taylor.
We're not talking about 6:11. And why do the numbers always climb when we're about to leave? Like, we're about to end the show. People just want to tune in. They're like, I can't wait to hear them stop talking.
Read some comments just to end it. Read some comments.
Let's see. We got some comments. All right, let's go. We've got wine and champagne from Tank 721. Skrilla says, Andrea for MVP. All right. See, so we've got people tuning in. So we're at 612 now. So still climbing. But we'll leave it there. I don't want to take up. We're already almost at an hour and a half.
Franco has a date. That's why he wants to leave. That's
no date. It's 10:40. I don't have a date at 10:40. All right. So 613 is the number we're closing off at. For Andrea Llanes, I am Franco Panizo. You have been watching or listening to Miami Total Football Radio. We will talk to you guys again next week.